From defeating Conquest head-to-head to literally piercing the core of Viltrum, Invincible has proven itself time and time again that he has a power not to be messed with. However, this begs the question, despite being allies, can the current Invincible defeat Alan the Alien? Today, we shall answer this question, and shockingly enough, this battle comes closer than we may think. Let's start from the beginning of Invincible to have a better gauge of not only his abilities, but also how much Mark Grayson has really changed across these 3 seasons. Since he was a child, Mark had always admired his superhero dad, Omni-Man. In his eyes, Nolan was a courageous and powerful vigilante, one who would swoop in times of need and kick the asses of all the bad guys.
When our people come of age, we leave Viltrum and venture out into the galaxy, using our abilities to help lesser developed worlds.
But even after being taught the ropes of handling his powers, Mark was still incredibly idealistic about being a superhero. That was until he'd truly feel the weight of being one when facing his first threat, the Flaxan invasion. As he stood in front of a tank to stop them, a blast from an energy cannon tore through a crowd, wiping out several civilians. Coated in their blood, Invincible was left shocked and guilty in his failure to save the people he swore to protect. However, no greater mental breakthrough was made than Mark's dispute with his father. After revealing that both of them are members of the Viltrum Empire and must pledge to carry out their goals, Mark was devastated. Mark undergoes an identity crisis, torn between which side to stand on, Viltrum or Earth. But how would this trauma affect his combat performance against Alan, you may ask? Well, here's what matters to our question. In combat, his trauma and pain don't weigh him down, but act as a fuel for him. It ignites his unwavering drive in him, pushing him to fight harder and better. This also proves to be a crucial aspect when looking at his physical abilities later on.
I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how fast you are. You don't live to see tomorrow.
To truly understand what we are putting Alan against, it is important for us to specify which version of Invincible we are talking about. After all, Invincible only grows significantly stronger over time. The version of Invincible we are using is the one seen at the end of Season 3, after defeating Conquest and undergoing training in the GDA. After Nolan left Earth, Mark landed in the hands of both Anissa and the Global Defense Agency. Through 3 months of a rigorous training regime adjusted to push him to his limits, Mark undergoes a visible change in his physical abilities, and they even have the numbers to prove it. Strength increased by 138%, speed by 65%.
Mark's speed has increased 65%, his endurance 70%, and his strength 138%.
They weren't just a benchmark of his abilities, but the start of a new chapter in his vigilantism. However, numbers don't do enough justice in showing just how powerful Invincible had really become. Let's start with his speed, where this 65% increase really shows. Even before his training, Invincible's speed far surpassed most superpowered beings. From breaking the sound barrier to flying across continents in minutes, feats like these were already under his belt as he gained control over his speed. Still, they pale in comparison to what followed. When battling his evil variants in the Invincible War, he processed not only every response, but the next move before any one of them could land a finger on his body. Overwhelmed by his superior speed, opponents like Movinsahawk and Hoodvincible dropped dead like flies. As if that weren't enough, Invincible even catches up with an EMP missile and intercepts it, all while in the heat of battle with the Mahler twins.
You want to call for help? Too bad. Can't. And no one else will be able to either, once we destroy the entire planet's communications network.
Now, let us look at his strength and durability. Sure, he can lift a giant's leg, an iceberg, or a car, but where is the thrill in those accomplishments? I mean, putting his strength into perspective, those feats would rank at the lowest end of the spectrum. During the earliest stages of his battle with Conquest, he drew blood from him, ripped out his shoulder, and even fractured his metal arm. To Conquest, the second most powerful Viltrumite in existence, finally met a worthy match, compelling him to actually put in effort. Facing high-level impacts, he eats up a large explosion in Angstrom's warehouse like cake, a nuclear missile face-to-face like breakfast. Remember how Invincible's endured so much psychological trauma? Here's where it comes in handy. Invincible, unlike a pure-blooded Viltrumite, is a hybrid of both a human and a Viltrumite. This hybridity grants him some pretty sick and unique powers that ordinary Viltrumites don't possess, especially emotional empowerment.
Oh, such a strong bond. Viltrumites have nothing like this. It's a weakness, really.
Under extreme anger and stress, Invincible's powers in nearly all aspects are boosted tremendously, giving him an edge over opponents. Hence, using his own trauma, Invincible is now able to tap into more intense emotions, which are amplified by his unique psychological response of enhanced strength, giving him the upper hand in combat. However, as powerful as Invincible may sound, Alan is no easy pillar to topple. After all, Alan was formulated specifically to counter and neutralize the threat of Viltrumites. As a part of its aggressive expansionist policies, the Viltrumites demolished and entire planets, one of which so happened to be Europa. Virtually all Unopans were wiped out, leaving the lucky few to fend for themselves. Being the geniuses and strong-willed survivors they are, they forbade the option of giving up and scoured for redemption. Swiftly, they established breeding camps and trialed numerous prototypes to create the Optiman Unopan. Among countless failed attempts of scientific engineering and research, Alan was born to replenish the Unopan race, born to protect his own people from the Viltrumites.
Breeding camps were also a genetic enhancement program designed to breed a soldier that could defeat a Viltrumite in combat.
Under the coalition of planets, Alan trained hard and relentlessly in a militarized environment. He swiftly picked up a smorgasbord of styles in armed and unarmed combat to become the master combatant he is now. Shortly after, Alan was assigned the role of evaluation officer in the organization. As the name suggests, he travels to multiple planets across galaxies, challenging the protectors and evaluating their abilities to protect their home planet. As boring as these tasks seem, they actually double as training for Alan himself. With every fight differing in environment types and abilities of his opponents, Alan learns how to adapt accordingly and use them to his advantage. However, throwing him against the current Invincible now would be nothing short of cruelty. To Alan, Invincible is still a god, a force of nature whose power eclipses his in any circumstance. At least, that would be so until his fated experience with 3 high-tier Viltrumites. Out on a date with Telia, Alan was suddenly ambushed by Thula, Lucan, and Vidor, some of the most powerful Viltrumites in the Empire. They demanded more information from Alan, where Omni-Man only to be turned down through jokes and witty responses.
Where's the father now?
The father? Which one was he again? You Pyclops all kind of look the same to me.
Angered, the trio proceeded to absolutely demolish Alan, ripping his guts out and tearing his only eyeball from his face. The bloody mess that was supposed to be his corpse was left floating in space and drifting into the abyss. Fortunately, the coalition of space retrieved his body and stabilized his condition right before his slip towards death. Despite survival being the main priority over growth, Thetis did not stop believing from there. With a risky hand, he went all in and turns down Alan's life support. By some god-sent miracle, Alan breaks out of the stasis. Now covered in muscles the size of dumbbells, Alan not only recovers, but comes back stronger and with powers on an unfathomable scale.
I turned off your life support machine and left you to fend for yourself. I knew without it, you would either die or recover stronger than before.
Following this breakthrough, the gap between Alan and Invincible finally closes, but just exactly by how much? Right after Alan wakes up and breaks out of the chamber, we already have a good gauge of just how strong he has become. Yep. You heard that right. Alan's power can finally hold up a good fight against Viltrumites. From being ragdolled by them to putting up a good fight against them, the power boost gained by Alan is significantly greater than Invincible after training. But let us visualize just how strong Alan is and compare them with Invincible's. First, his speed. Alan is capable of traveling intergalactic distances over the span of just a few weeks, or in other words, traveling faster than the speed of light. Even when up against Anissa, a Viltrumite theorized to be as powerful as Omni-Man, Alan has caught up to her many times during flight. While Invincible has shown remarkable speeds during flight, they fall short of Alan's speed, which places itself on an intergalactic scale. During combat, Alan also manages to dodge several of Anissa's punches and launch attacks she failed to process, displaying remarkable reflexes.
No Unopan is that strong.
Guess your research is out of date.
You are coming with us.
But let's not forget Invincible's battle with Conquest. While eventually defeating him, Invincible constantly failed to dodge his attacks and tanks them instead. Hence, this point goes to Alan. Now, onto strength and durability. After the near-death experience, Alan gains newfound might, allowing him to draw blood from Anissa with a single punch and stand his ground against a powerful Viltrumite. He also manages to tank countless hits from Anissa like Nerf bullets, only surrendering to her to infiltrate the Viltrumite ships. Compared to Viltrumites, the man-made weapons Invincible tanks are on a much smaller scale and are not enough to level with Alan in terms of durability. However, when empowered by his emotions, we're looking at a completely different Invincible. Opponents like these pale in comparison to the godlike being Invincible defeats at this state. Scaling up to Conquest, we are talking about strength and power on an intergalactic scale. While landing combos on Conquest you'd see in Super Smash Bros, he tanks countless blows too, displaying visible wear and injuries. During the fight, Invincible breaks 2 bones, one in his forearm, one in his thigh. However, this is the Conquest we're talking about, not some low-tier ant in the Viltrum Empire, but the second most powerful Viltrumite in existence before Thrag.
All the other Viltrumites are scared of me. No one wants to be my friend. They think I am unstable.
Of course, Invincible would have to suffer such injuries. Despite them, Invincible presses on and eventually defeats Conquest as he taps into his unbridled rage. From what we can see, it becomes obvious that both contestants can deal with what they dish out and stand head to head in this aspect. Plainly comparing the strengths and weaknesses to evaluate the conclusion of this rivalry would be just straight up inaccurate. I mean, what about the environment, the circumstances, the relationship between them? There are just so many factors that play a part in deciding this outcome. To simplify things, we'll deal just 3 scenarios. Imagine this: you are at a bar, just trying to have a nice drink and unwind, or maybe just trying to impress a girl. All was well until one decided to bump into you and spill your drink all over your shirt. You are pissed, and so is the other guy for stepping up to him, but not to the point where you want to eradicate his whole bloodline. That is the headspace both Invincible and Alan are in during this battle. At this level of rage, Invincible does not tap into the intense emotions gained from his trauma and keeps him away from the state that defeated Conquest.
Wanna die for this planet? Fine! What's 17 more years? I can always start again!
In a way, we are handicapping Invincible for this battle. As for Alan, it doesn't really matter since he does not have emotional empowerment. Alan here now holds the upper hand. Given that he travels faster than light and dodges Anissa's offenses, Alan moves to multiple positions and lands attacks from obscure angles. Invincible, already able to dodge some of Conquest's attacks, would most likely dodge about 40% of Alan's hits. However, when he attempts to do the same, Alan would also be able to easily outmaneuver him and reach tactical spots beforehand. Alan, surprised at even being able to stun Anissa, can probably deal some strong blows to Invincible too. However, the same can't be said for Invincible. Having only defeated far less powerful enemies like Angstrom Levy or his variants, when not yet emotionally tense, we can only assume his power levels with these other opponents.
Did you think anything less than killing you with my bare hands would satisfy me?
Nevertheless, Invincible has shown himself to display immense endurance, biting his teeth through the pain to fight like a wild dog. Thus, I would expect from him a 50% winning chance in an extremely dragged out battle. Scenario number 2, Alan uses psychological warfare. Looking at Alan's lighthearted and empathetic character, it is highly unlikely for him to resort to such a method. Even so, every possibility is a scenario worth discussing. Alan, being a close friend to Invincible and fighting alongside him in battles, would know how Invincible had dealt with an immense amount of trauma. Using this to his advantage, Alan can target Invincible's biggest insecurities, from the emotional fallout with his father to the guilt from the Invincible War. This encloses Mark into a troubled mindset with guilt and shame instead of focusing on the battle, allowing Alan to swiftly pounce on Invincible and launch attacks. Yet this plan can also backfire terribly. As Conquest attempted the same method, he initially was able to weigh down Invincible and overpower him. But what went wrong? Conquest dragged it far too long and didn't strike when the iron was hot.
You feel your body starting to rip. First your muscles tear, then your vertebrae, they separate.
Invincible recovered from the mentality and came back stronger and angrier, leading to his own defeat. Similarly, Alan would also have to nail the crux of his trauma and constantly keep Invincible down while battling, which is hard to do. Given that this plan does work, I would lower the bar to about a 40% win rate for Invincible here, knowing how his trauma takes up a big part of his growth. Last but not least, we have arrived at the cream of the crop of all the scenarios. Invincible goes full beast mode. In this scenario, Invincible will look at Alan the same way he looked at Conquest. The same amount of vengeance, the same amount of fury, and the same amount of desire to shred his body into pieces. In this battle, things get a lot more volatile. Despite the empowerment, Alan probably still edges over Invincible in terms of speed and reflexes, but by a smaller margin. However, using the same force he used to rip Conquest apart, the lucky few hits that land on Alan could incapacitate him and slow down his fighting momentum. Shocked by just how angry and aggressive Invincible is, Alan may even hesitate to continue fighting.
You want to take me to prison with those punches? Good luck with that.
Right when he lets his guard down, Invincible pounces on him like a tiger, launching powerful attacks more aggressively. With determination, he doesn't stop. He pushes and pushes until Alan is left near the brink of death. Invincible here is a being on another level. No matter how strong or durable Alan may be, he pushes and presses each and every button until Alan is defeated. Similar to the first battle, the battle would also be dragged out as Alan fights for every breath, giving Invincible a slightly higher winning chance of 75%. Now, here comes the big question. Can current Invincible defeat Alan? Well, only slightly under extreme anger. In all other circumstances, Alan would easily overpower him. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on screen now.